What up, everybody? This is Dregs One. Welcome to another episode of the History of the Bay podcast, recorded right here at Empire Studios in San Francisco, California. Behind the lens, we got the one and only Trevor Potter, the great videographer and content creator. And today, we have another special guest, a legendary guest, someone that has put in a lot of work on the mic and off the mic. Some might say the first lady of Bay Area hip-hop. Has been representing for the Queens since the early 90s, maybe even earlier, which I'll find out today. This is the third member of the clique that has been on this podcast, so I'm excited to welcome the one and only Suga-T is in the house.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No doubt. Thanks for making time. Really appreciate you coming through. You know, I'm looking forward to hearing your story. I try to highlight the women as often as I can, as well as the men. And, you know, like I said, you have been a trailblazer in that regard, so it's going to be real cool to hear your story.
Right on. It's good to, to highlight the women that bring life.
Absolutely. That is.
We have to exist, or
yes,
that would be the end to mankind, right?
That is vital.
You are a smart man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right on.
Well, I always start at the very beginning. There's a lot to go through. Like I said, I've had Be Legit last year on the podcast. I had D-Shot earlier this year, so I'm a little familiar with some of your family story. But it starts in Vallejo for you guys, right?
Yep.
Born and raised in Vallejo?
Born and raised in Vallejo, and weekends in Oakland.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you moved around Vallejo a little bit before getting settled.
Yeah. Yep. Started off in the Crest and then moved over to Magazine Street.
Right.
Hillside.
So
yeah.
You're the second oldest in your household?
I am the third oldest when we're all together, but I'm the second oldest. Wait. I'm the fourth oldest when all of us are together. And then I'm the second oldest when some of us are together.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have another couple of brothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're not famous, but so when we're all in a household, there's five brothers and just me. And then when we're in, the other household with just my mom's house, then it's four of us.
What was it like growing up in a household with so many boys and being the only girl?
It was never a dull moment. Yeah. It was never a dull moment. Yeah. No, yeah. For real.
What was
it's still a never a dull moment.
What was your childhood like? What were you like in those early days?
I went through different stages. I was I was a loner. I was the only girl, so I wanted friends. So I liked girls, to hang out with girls, and hoped that I had a sister. Never had one, and so when I did have a opportunity to have a friend, I really took him to heart. Like, oh, my friend, don't leave me, that kind of thing. And I was kind of tomboyish. Eventually, as I got older, it was hanging out with boys all the time and doing everything they wanted to do, mostly. They tried to keep me as girly as possible, though, but my mother and my dad, but they never threw me in the field with rats and stuff like that, which I wish they would have, because I'm scared to death of them. But literally would hurt myself if I just seen one. But traumatized by them, But in terms of, just hanging out, getting into the good, the bad, and the ugly, and riding motorcycles, going to the gun range, through the teenage years and young adult years, and, hanging out, on the blocks, being a part of various movements and, being a part of the, the whole structure of what we do as a family as well as eventually in business. So.
Well, yeah, your image is very feminine, but you had to hang out with the boys and be around the fellas a lot too.
Yep, absolutely.
And Vallejo's like a very tight-knit community too. Like, I always trip off when I have someone on this podcast that's from Vallejo. Like, there's like so many relations and
Right.
It seemed like a real tight-knit community to grow up in.
Yeah, it was. Now it's a lot of people from other places there. But yeah, overall it was. And every now and then, you get a hiccup somewhere where there's some, some differences, so you just got to gravitate to the ones that are on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding is that there was a time where like pretty much that whole city was kind of together.
Absolutely. It was very strong, very, very strong. The sisters, the adults, they all kept us all together.
Right.
Our families, they kept us all together. And they believed in it, and they really believed in family, which is really important. Today, people don't really take family, to heart. Like kids, young adults, they don't really appreciate having a grandmother in the space or an auntie in the space. They're kind of selfish now,
or like the roles that those different family members would have.
Yeah,
right?
All the roles and the opportunity to actually have an adult that can give you some game. They're just so busy running to the internet and everywhere else to get information. It's like they got to a lot of people take it for granted. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And they, I see all kind of stuff. So I'm a grandmother, of 10, and I've been one for almost 2 decades. So being in that space, I roll with other grandmothers, and, I'm in more of an adult space, a lot of times, and see all kind of stuff, and being a owner of an organization and out in the community and just dealing with regular people daily. I see a lot of that they don't respect. And then, of course, looking online, where I have people that even get on my page and, say, sit your whole butt down. Or, they be saying little stuff. And I'm like, ooh, honey, you so ignorant. You better hope you get old.
Yeah.
You better hope you get old, baby. That's a compliment to me. I'll be old.
Yeah.
Run up on me and see what old do, though. You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
But, we try to push positivity in community. So I try to carry myself in a way to laugh and stuff like that, but it's just, you can see how ignorant people are in those spaces. So it's like looking at the way that the younger generation disrespect the elders. It ain't cool, and it's shortchanging themselves of what we got. We got that, we had aunties, we had grandmama, granddaddy, everybody. We all slept in the same bed, same rooms. We appreciated the game we got from the elders and what they did give to us, and a lot of times they gave us some, they sprinkled us. But it was enough for us to believe it. A lot of them, like, why we got to do this? Because I said it. That's why. Yeah. And we trusted them.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the bottom line was, when we're a whole different makeup than that generation, those older generations. And we really go hard trying to teach, but they don't accept it because they seem like it's like a competition or some kind of a spirit that draws them against the older people or feel like they're on the same level. And you have people fighting, the people that's telling the truth. It's a lot. So anyway.
Yeah, there's a generational divide going on right now.
Yeah, it's self-destructive. That's what's so sad about it, because we surviving. We know how to. We still here. That's why, But
right.
A lot of them, they just going to play themselves crash and burn and, put themselves in a position to not have community like we did.
Did you guys grow up in a single-parent household, or were your parents together?
Yeah, they were together, but we grew up in a single. Most of my childhood was single parent.
So your mom had to hold it down with a lot of
my mom was a strong woman that held it down and didn't play. And, everyone, she was well loved, through the neighborhood, through the family. And she didn't play with us like, we were very much well in line. And but she was a soldier, She rocked with us in whatever space we was. She just wanted us to do it right, whatever it was going to be, And so, she held it down. My dad was around too.
Right.
Yeah, he held it down. He was a weekend and in between the week when he was able. We didn't live with him every day, so, but summer times and other places where we there mostly. So we had the best of both worlds.
That's good.
Yeah.
So the one thing that's remarkable about your family is that there's so many musicians.
Yeah.
So not only your siblings, but I just had Turf Talk last week on this podcast. Was your cousin.
Yeah.
Mac Mall is another cousin of yours. I mean, every time I talk to one of y'all, like the list just goes on and on. And even into like Droopy, who's rapper, producer. Yeah.
Yep.
What was that like? Or, and in your opinion, I've asked different people this, but like, where do you attribute that to? Like, where did that musical talent start coming from in your family?
Well, it started from my grandparents. My grandparents on both sides dibbed and dabbed in music, played instruments, and all my aunts were musicians and singers, playing in the church. My grandfather had a church, the late elder Charles W. Thurman. May his soul rest in peace and his spirit continue to protect us. But he was a soldier, so he preached, and he also had to, played the guitar. And all my aunts, like Levity's mom, Bebe, she played the piano, and others played different instruments, piano. We was the women with the drum sets, with the dresses, playing the drums in a dress type of church, to make it happen. We were a small church, so we just had to make it happen. And that's where we were able to explore our talents. And my dad was a musician. He was a home, he would go to work and then come home, and that was his way of releasing. So he was a self-taught guitarist, and right to this day he still is. And he plays the guitar, but he sacrificed to not be the big BB King and all of those people because he wanted to make sure he had stability for everybody. And then my mom, her and her aunts had groups, singing groups, and they all, moved around a little bit. So it came from, for me, I started singing in the church at 5 years old. I was leading the choir, and my aunts just pushed me and coached me and, celebrated me singing and enjoying that opportunity. I didn't know I was being coached at the time, but that's what gave me the, a little bit of extra confidence. And then, of course, my dad, he would take the stage out and be like, okay, y'all sing. Here the mic. He had the mic for us, and we would sing and play around and rap and do whatever. And my brothers played instruments. 40 played instrument, and everybody did different stuff. I played a little bit of instrument, tiny bit of guitar, tiny bit of piano, the bongos, use my voice to sing and do different things. And of course, exploring with all of us, just hanging out as a family doing stuff.
Yeah.
So we grow.
Sounds like a lot of fun. So that's like something
it was when we was younger.
Yeah. Sounds like a fun way to spend time with your cousins.
It is when we get together.
Yeah.
It is.
So it's like generational, just passed down, and family get-togethers, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Was that, what kind of career ambitions did you have early on when you were a teenager? Did you always have music dreams, or were you going in different directions?
I had no dream to do music in any capacity. I was actually going to be a nurse. So, but because of the environment, I tried a couple of talent shows. I remember playing Object. You're the object. You remember that song? Of my desire. I remember doing that when in the Hogan talent show. I was 13. I was stiff as a board, like trying to figure it out. So I just pushed myself just to do something. I was very outgoing. So, I was playing cheerleading and, played football with the boys, played basketball. I was in ROTC and, created groups, neighborhood groups with people. Just, come on, y'all, let's go make a group, stuff like that.
Right.
So it wasn't about like, being famous. I never had a desire to be famous, or it was no interest. I wasn't like I want to meet this person, every blue moon I'll find somebody that I felt that way about. But no, I wanted to be a nurse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had different aspirations.
Absolutely.
I also heard that you became a mother very young.
I did. I have been parenting since I was 16.
Okay.
Yep, I had 2 at 17, 2 in 1 year.
2 in 1 year.
2 in 1 year.
Not twins, 2 in back to back.
Yep, back to
Okay.
back.
Okay.
Yep. And been grandparenting since 36.
What was the experience like of being a teen mother?
I don't say this because I encourage anybody to become a teen mother, but I didn't have a hard time being a teen mom because I had a lot of support around me. Whole lot of support. Like my aunts and them, they're like, girl, you better go get your welfare check, so you can finish school, just, like, which made sense. And my mom was like, I got your back. She was never embarrassed to me. They never threw me under the bus. They never made me feel uncomfortable. I had one aunt one time that was like, girl, you done it now, and I ain't gonna say her name, but she wasn't like one of my immediate aunts, because all my immediate aunts they were amazing. Like, they would babysit my kids for me. They supported me. They loved me, loved my kids. They were tell me I'm gonna be a good mom, and stuff like that. They gave me special privileges because I was the one that went places and cleaned up everybody's house. So I was the kid that can come over when nobody else can come over nobody else.
So you're responsible.
Yeah, I was responsible. My mom, she taught us to, like, when you go to somebody's house, you clean up your mess and you see if they need help cleaning up because they let you in their house. So it was just installed in me to just be that type of person, to be helpful to people. So I was the one that got away with, I can beat up people, beat up the kids and everything and wouldn't get in trouble. Beat up my little cousins and pick on them. And I used to mess with Jamal all the time. Magma.
I think he mentioned that when he was on the podcast.
I used to pick on him. And all my cousins and have a lot of fun, but I wouldn't get in trouble. One of my cousins liked to tell the stories of how I used to beat up kids all the time. And then I think I went through a pension stage, but I didn't get in trouble for that kind of stuff. But being a young mom was it wasn't hard. What became hard was the decisions I made as a young person. That's where it was hard.
Okay.
So I didn't always make the best decisions. I did the best I can. But some of those decisions came out to cause trauma and drama and pain and agony and a lot of healing. I had to do a lot of healing and a lot of self actualization, a lot of taking accountability and resetting and spiritual growth and so being a teen mom, there was quite a bit of different things that came in that space. I'm trying to save some of it for my documentary because I have
it's all good.
I got a documentary called The Rapidemic She Tell, of how rap became a pandemic and a weapon to the women who broke the rules, which is another conversation.
I noticed some of that when I was looking at your materials, so we can get into that too.
Yeah, it highlights the way older women in hip hop is treated, and specifically over here in Northern California. And
that's an important conversation.
Yeah, we could come with that a little bit.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Yeah, they need to know about it,
So you were making survival decisions, basically.
Yeah, as a teenager. It wasn't necessarily survival because I was really in a good space, thank God. I didn't have a hard time. I didn't never have a lot of money, so when I didn't have money, it wasn't no big deal, Like, I was happy with my little welfare check. I was working at 8 years old with my grandfather, though, throwing newspapers. That was my first business partner. And then got 11 years old and sold newspapers, And then 13, I started my little hustle where this was before having kids, and I would do hair, cut up my grandma wigs, and my cousin Shaky taught me how to braid hair. So until we found out where there was real hair that you could actually buy. And so I started a business actually at 13 in hair, and I was a mobile weave queen. And so from there I ended up recording a whole new album. It was a singing album at 14 years old with not an album but a song, and I started working with Studio Tone before everybody else started working with him. So he was looking for some singers, and so I showed up and was one like, hey, produce me. I didn't know what produce mean. I just heard the word produce at the time. So but of course, I didn't mention my Uncle St. Charles, but he was an influence in the business part of our movement too. But I'm sure we'll get to that in some capacity.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, my challenges came from decisions I made, not picking the right men, getting myself in positions where I probably, not a lot, I wouldn't say a lot of bad, but young decisions. You know what I mean? That caused me to bring stuff that I had to fix, basically.
Yeah. Something that tripped me out once is that I learned that there's a part of your brain that evaluates consequences. and that doesn't finish maturing until you're like 24.
Okay.
So when you're young, you actually can't, your brain can't properly weigh out the risks
Right.
and the realities of some of the choices you make.
Well, that's because of lack of knowledge.
Right.
Yeah. So when I give the props to the elders of information they gave us, but they kind of just gave us bits and pieces. They didn't give us the whole thing. So, it could be good to some people, but everybody don't make it out alive. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of times they got to learn the hard way, or, they want you to figure it out, on your own. But this is not a time, this is dangerous figuring stuff out. So only the strong can survive when you in that space. And so like today, it's so much information that if somebody fail, then they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Right.
Because it's information everywhere you look, and it's people breaking their neck to give out information from so many different angles. You know what I'm saying? But back in the day, we had a limited amount of information. Like I said, they could say, don't go across that street, not because you might get hit by a car. Don't go across the street because you might get hit by a car. But on the way, you might trip in the middle of the street while you're trying to run if you is running away from the car. So you don't even want to take a chance. You know what I mean? A chance doing that. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah.
Those little bitty details could help, because you would end up later saying, okay, I'm going to run across the street. I know I can get hit by a car. I'm going to be careful. But then you can run and then trip and take that chance of trying to beat that car. But you forgot that you could trip on your way over there. And there's some error in the middle of it that you didn't think about because of not being experienced or exposed or told that much of it. You see what I'm saying? So there is our Marabella, our brain is developed at a 20. They say it's developed at 25, 24. I believe at this point it's probably way older than that now. And only because of the ignorance and the mistruth that's out here and the lies and the everybody with agendas, with content and information that just confuses everybody, where it doesn't give you a fair chance of growing. You know what I mean? So back then, I truly believe it definitely grew. But today, I don't think so, because they miss steps. Because everybody trying to hurry up and get to the place, to the bag, or to the this, to the that. And then they miss steps. Like I said, they miss the conversations along the way. They miss the people around them that's really trying to give them the insight or trying to give them something to work with. But they kind of pushing you back because they think they already got it, because they see it right there on their laptop, or they see it in their pocket on their YouTube. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So you had to figure things out for yourself, basically.
Yeah, and I was a learner. And I had people that give information along the way. It wasn't a bunch of bad mistakes, a bunch of bad decisions. It was like cut up. You see the people on the block, you want to go hang out with them, what they into. That look fun over there. Let me go see what I can get my little cell phone into. That kind of thing.
Right.
I don't want to incriminate myself, but
no, I got you.
Just putting yourself in harm's way, and
right.
Unnecessary roughness, or just roughness that's right there in your face that looks easy to get to, that you don't realize. I didn't come out. I came out unscathed, thank God. But you still have to recognize when you make choices, and that you might have made some bad choices, or not the choices that were the best for you based on your ignorance or your immaturity or your lack of knowledge, or your lack of, of looking for knowledge at that time and getting more before you inputted it. But overall, I give myself props. I kept my kids clean, safe. We always had a place to stay. When we were in a unique space, I knew how to get us out of it, and protected them like it was me, and taught them as much as I can, and as long as they would let me, as much as they would let me. And even a better grandmother today, but yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So when did hip hop come into the picture for you?
It came in at about 15. Yeah. So it came in playing around with my brothers when I was like 12, 13, but we actually recorded an album. I recorded an album, my first album. 1984 was when we actually first started. We didn't start in the 90s. We started in 1984. And then we put something on wax in 86. Then throughout the years, we became more commercially present in the early 90s. But we were doing it far before that. We did what you call ghetto gold, So we literally created an atmosphere of independent trailblazing without radio originally, and of course without the internet. and we what we call ghetto gold. We sold a bunch of units, and
But
we ran our own label.
not to cut you off, but even before that, just developing the talent, you just learned that from messing with your brothers. And did you have like other influences of hip hop that made you want to start rapping too?
So honestly, I just hate to just be brutally honest, but I really had no interest in hip hop. I had an interest in having fun.
Okay.
Like literally, I was like, woohoo, I could go play. These kids, bye babies. I'm on the plane. I'm about to go turn up. I mean, that's what I just love to have fun. And being that I kind of missed out on my childhood a little bit in that way, just a little bit, because my mother will be like, okay, come get your kids. I didn't have them. Every blue moon she'd hit me with that. So I knew not to get too comfortable. But bottom line is I did it for fun. But I did like hip hop. I listened to like Run DMC, Houdini, all the Egyptian Lover, all the Planet Rock,
Electro type stuff.
all the bangers that the youngins, and even listen to some of the stuff that was similar to hip hop, like David Bowie, Let's Dance, don't, that kind of stuff. And a lot of the music that was played in our homes. So my daddy house was a jazz house, then later it became a blues house. And then my mama house was a blues and soul and, cut up house, act the fool, get it popping. Hey, weekend parties, the weekend come, we gone. Her favorite song was Living for the Weekend. We on our way to my cousin's house in Oakland, and she drop us off, and we over there kicking it, and they out partying, at the Silk somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So, we had the party house in a different way. It was a little turned up.
Well, because there wasn't many female MCs back then, right? You probably had like Roxanne Shante and
yep. So so MC Lyte. I liked MC Lyte, Roxanne Shante. And matter of fact, I got to meet her
nice
several times, through the years. And when I first met her, it was in 2000 and I think 10 or 12, and it was at the Underground Girls of Hip Hop Honors in LA. And she told me, like, she gave me an award. And on stage, she was like, when I met you, when I used to hear your music on the East Coast, I wanted to come to the West Coast just because of you. And I'm like, what, girl? I want to come over there with you. Let me tell you a story. Yes, how I got to be so fresh. I was like, that was the rebellion for us. Like, it happened one day, when I was sitting upstairs listening to the radio. Yeah, so it was her, and it was an honor for her to say that. And we had a couple of conversations on the phone when we were introduced. And at that time, she was kind of going through her cancer, something that was healing in her body. And she was like, and this is what she said on stage. And she was like, Suga-T was the only one that was like, Shantae, you cool? Everybody else like Roxanne, but I just called her by her name, like, checking on her, and I don't know what everybody else was doing, but she was like, I'm the only one that kind of like was real with her, So that made me feel good. I was like, oh, I didn't even know she noticed that. I'm like, okay. But yeah, so those are the influencers. There's a lot more. When you run a business, for me, all day long I'm operating a business, I'm preparing for some musical stuff, or I'm dealing with my family, my grandchildren, or, and in between, and my companion, or in between trying to breathe. And I don't listen to music all day long like that.
Yeah.
It'll put me in the hospital.
On the West Coast, there wasn't, those are East Coast rappers, right? MC Lyte and Roxanne Shante. Right. So on the West Coast, and in particular, like the Bay, you were one of the first.
Yeah, I am the first. And the biggest woman who ever left the Bay Area and made it across country. I was the first and still the biggest one. I hold the biggest brother and sister hip hop do whatever in history, a double platinum. And, all of our albums is gold. That, Hurricane, Captain Save A Hoe.
So the first female rapper from the Bay Area is Suga-T.
No, Not the first female rapper, the first female rapper that made it across country.
First, okay, that made it
That
nationwide.
made it out of the Bay.
Gotcha,
Yeah, there was
yeah.
other ones that came before me.
I was curious to know about that.
Yeah, and few of them I heard, like Kimmy Fresh and some other people.
Kimmy Fresh.
Yeah, so they came. They were still, I don't want to say before me, but they were at the same time as me.
Right,
I'm not sure if they were way before me or not, but in somewhat of the same time frame. And there was a couple of other ones, but I'm the first one that made it out of the Bay.
Great.
Yeah, made noise, got respect for the look. When they look at the Bay, they looking at, oh, that's where Suga-T, that's her, all over the country and then nationwide.
Yeah, so I'm jumping around a little bit, but like if you look at LA, there's like Yo-Yo and Lady of Rage.
Yep.
I'm really trying to think of the other like early.
Yeah, it was Yo-Yo
rappers.
Rage. There was the 5 Footers.
Oh yeah.
There was the Doggies Angels. West Coast. Yeah. So West
Queen
Coast.
Latifah on the East
but
Coast.
she on the East. Yeah. So we got it was Lady of Rage, Yo-Yo, Silky Fine, the Doggies Angels, and who did I say earlier? I said 5 Footers already. Okay. Yeah, and there's some other ones that's been out there. They just don't get as much commercial recognition. Medusa.
Oh
Medusa
yeah,
is
shout
raw.
out to Medusa.
Yeah. And then there's off top when I'm thinking those are the main ones that were in my time. There was some more, but I can't think. But right now those are the ones.
And then later in the Bay, you have like Conscious Daughters.
Yep, and then you have Conscious Daughters. It's not a lot of us. You had the Conscious Daughters, Oakland 357, and you had Mystic.
Yeah.
And then there's a few others that make it on the song here and there. They get some recognition as well in between time, but not really made it to that level of notoriety like us.
Did you guys like have a solidarity coming up together as being some of the only women in the game?
We did actually. Me and the Conscious Daughters toured for years together. We went with the boys, so I was so happy to have some girls on tour because I was always the only girl for so long.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I did. Several of us. Militia, Miss Toy, I forgot to mention her.
Oh yeah.
So we would go out with Militia when Miss Toy was a part. So I was able to kind of work with some of the ladies within the scope of the groups.
Did you ever have men that were not respectful of women in hip hop around those times? Was it something you had to kind of fight for your respect or challenge some of the people in those spaces?
I never had a problem with nobody disrespecting me. Every blue moon I might run across a knucklehead, but they always respect me. I think they look at me different, because I'm not just. A lot of people think that people just show up. I don't just show up. I run machines. So I was brought into hip hop as a machine. I was an executive producer. I was a part of the Sick With It making of the label with my family. So my brother gave me the contract, read it through and said, look, this is where they sign this. This is how much points you give them, da-da-da-da-da. And this is how you go deal with these producers, So they taught me how to read contracts and how to deal with producers, how to deal with, the media, the marketing, and we did all of that ourselves. You know what I mean? So like I would literally call magazines, and I had an alias, and I would get us magazine, interviews and reviews and make sure that we stayed visible in a lot of ways, and as well as myself, at different times when I needed to focus in on myself. So
you were empowered to go into the space and do what you had to do, and
yeah, I was taught other skills besides just showing up.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that was critical because that's how you survive out here on the north, in the Northern California segment, because otherwise you wouldn't make it, because they don't have no life jacket for us over here.
Okay, this is the second time you kind of hinted at that, so now I'm just curious.
Not for the OGs, not for the real ones, the ones that's not willing to sell to the ones that I'll say they don't allow you to grow. They don't allow you to have a hiccup, and they don't give you the space to be a mature woman without ostracizing you or leaving you out of something, or not looking out for you or not addressing you. They move with the hype. So it was a period in time in history where everybody left with the hype of all the younger females and younger artists. And just being a woman, I should probably stick with just the woman. Like, they literally didn't want to work with the older people. And so, you had to survive. So it's even worse for women, because a lot of the women, I don't think they really was taught how to run machines. So it's probably difficult for them to put themselves together. So they're forced to work a 9 to 5 to survive and take care of their bills. And they're forced to go find something else to do, because you get all these promises, or because everybody's scared to work with them because they don't want to put in the work, when they can just go get a younger artist that's probably just going to easily listen to them and do whatever they want them to do, and not know no better, and put them in a position, or because they feel like they can stay on by working with a younger artist. So there was a period of time where everyone was scared to work with older artists, and it was pretty tough.
And you're saying this is a problem that's specific, especially bad in Northern California?
Well, everyone has their different reasonings. Everybody has their stories. So each situation is individually unique, right? You got some labels that might have closed. You got some that might have slept with their producer. You got some, I don't know everybody's whole thing, but each one is unique. But the bottom line is, regardless, you would think that the older men in this game would say, you know what? Let me look out for the aunties. Let me look out for my colleagues that we came up with. It shouldn't be no thought about what they did or none of that. It should be like, let's look out for these girls too. Because you see all the older men soaring, but you don't see the older women in the same space. You get what I'm saying?
I think I'm following you, yeah.
And so because of the immaturity, the lack of, I'm going to say leadership, because everybody knows you need an auntie in the game. You can't just have all the men pushing around muscles and money. You know what I mean? You got to have the women to sprinkle a little bit of game in a different way as well. And, we're the makers of the family, of the community, and the older women, we are seasoned. So, we're the one raising children. We're the one building the house. We're the one cooking and cleaning. And even though we're not your wives, it shouldn't matter. You should be looking out for the sisters. You know what I mean? And so making sure that they soar and that they shine on this coast right along with them.
Yeah. I think I understand what you're saying, because me personally, I like having women involved. I don't like the whole sausage fest thing, and I think regardless of age, it's just good to have that perspective and that involvement. And I think a lot of dudes are doing stuff just for dudes all day, every day, and they only want dudes around them, and the women are like only for a specific role, or like kind of just like a background booty shaking dancer or something like that.
My.
Yeah, that's not really my style. So I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah, if you're not cheerleading for them, if you're not sleeping with them, or if you're not running behind them to hurry up and wait. Because, some people move around. Okay, I'm going to look out for you. I'm going to look out for you. Or I'm going to put you out. I'm going to put you out. Then, you pretty much, you're going to be
it's
looked
like an
over.
afterthought. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And every blue moon you find someone. I understand that some may be having a hard time themselves, but if it ain't nothing but recognizing, that you have women in your camp, that's what the true community is supposed to do. That to me is like a Black Panther type of movement, even though there's more to that. But I'm saying, from a hip hop community, the older men should be saying, let me look out. Forget the emotions, because people got emotional hangups and they start mixing personal with business and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is they deserve a chance too. They was here rocking with us for crumbs, we didn't get paid like they get paid today. And I don't say this because I envy them today, because the way they get paid and what they got to do to get paid, I have no interest of envying that. I don't want to get paid that way. You know what I'm saying? So, because some people will take this and be like, oh, they hating because no. I'm just saying we didn't know it was more money. So it wasn't bad for us because we didn't know it was a whole lot of money we could make. You know what I mean? So we were just happy to do it, and we were happy to be comfortable, and we were blessed. But at the same time, through the years, it has evolved where there's more money that comes in people's pocket. You know what I'm saying? So, but the bottom line is, I forgot my thought. What was I saying?
No, it's all good. You're talking about the money involved and...
Oh, right. They should be saying, let me look out for them. Let me put some money in their pocket too.
Yeah.
You know, thank God we could survive on our own, but like, let me look out. Let me see if I could put a deal together for them. Let me get them together, matter of fact. And maybe let me give it to Suga and be like, you know what, Suga, I know you know how to run a label. You've been running your label. I got 25 albums, right? 5 group albums, and then I have 20 of my own. So matter of fact, I'm continuing to celebrate that. Through 2026, I'm gonna do this whole campaign, just highlighting my legacy and making sure people are aware, because I spend a lot of time behind the scenes, running my businesses. So I just want to, I've been popping out, making sure they're, very clear that I'm capable and that I'm here, and at the same time of my legacy and, the trailblazing components that came along with my space. Because if you don't tell them, they won't know unless you got $1 million budget for publicity or something. And who wants to do that? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Very well said.
You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, I brought that up to say that you would think that some kind of way there would be some movement that, so that shows you the male chauvinism that's over here. I know it's other places too, but more so ever over here.
It's a thing. It's a Northern Cali thing for sure.
Then you got the women that's jealous of you because they know you made it bigger than them. So I looked around a couple of times, and I remember this one girl was in my inbox, and she was like, somebody had told me to reach out to her because people know I don't like twerking and stuff. I don't like that image. That to me is just so unladylike to me to keep doing that. Now to do it every now and then to have fun, because we did it. They'd be like, well, back in the day, y'all did that. Yeah, we did, but that wasn't the only dance we did. That wasn't our only claim to fame. That wasn't our, it was like now.
It wasn't part of your performance on stage. And
if it was, it wasn't the whole
thing.
The whole stage. I've done some cutting up, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I got a song called Can You Handle This? I got a song called Freaky With You, from back in the day. A variety of ways of being what I call sexy for a variety of reasons, going through my rebellion, like, get a divorce and like, I'll show him that I'm cute too, that kind of thing, going through different stages, which is a whole nother conversation. But the bottom line is, but to do that in every song, every video, every part of life, it's like, come on. And then to open up the screen and all you see is booty popping and pumping and hopping the air, and it's just, people get they get annoyed with me. They used to get real annoyed with me by saying that, but I think now they're starting to get tired of it too.
Sure.
And calling this talent and the fact of making this rap, like, we're not all like that. Don't try to make us all be the same, like, allow us all to be different. And I went through that stage at one part in my career. I actually took a break because you got to take a break from this stuff. You know what I mean? So I took a break from 2000 to about 2010, where I did a whole self-discovery, spiritual discovery, mental, emotional, physical, and balance, and made sure I didn't miss out on an opportunity to raise my kids, And, it's nothing like having some children later saying, oh, you left me, you got all this money, but I don't know you. I was with this person, or I did that, or, it's like, I wanted to make sure that my space was clear of that, right? And utilize the opportunity to be there because I had them on purpose for that reason. So, and I understood the men around me, they all have women and wives and babies' mamas. So it's a difference when the mama's not there. You know what I mean? It's okay for daddy to go get it, but for mama not to be there, that wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable with that, with missing out on raising my children. So I also, not only that, but I wanted to go back and get some education. Went back and got an AA in liberal studies, general business, AA, bachelor's in psychology, a master's in organizational management. And then later I went back and got a Christian counseling master's. And then I got a humanities doctorate, and I was given a music honorary doctorate. And so, But the bottom line is, through the years, I've always wanted to grow more. I didn't want to be stuck in a box because I always knew I could rap. That was easy, like second nature, with my eyes closed on my tippy toes, simple. But I wanted to see what else I needed to learn. I didn't want to just be rapping and just learn rap and just rap. I wanted to see, what if my voice went out? What if somebody didn't like me? What if I couldn't get played on the radio? What if this wasn't my calling? So I had to go through that self-discovery stage and grow into even healing from some pain, some things that hurt me, from people close to me, and from divorces, and just the rubbish of that whole time frame of being an adult up to that stage. After 16 long years of pumping out platinums and golds and touring and all that, I seen the success far before many in that way, and I wasn't afraid to step back and say, let me balance myself. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely want to get more into that, because that's a really fascinating part of the story. But before we get there, I want to take people on the full journey.
Yes.
Can we go back to the timeline a little bit of your career?
Sure.
Because when you talked about your first album and stuff, the first before the Click, there was a group called MVP.
Yes.
And you're not on that. I don't know if you're rapping or singing or involved in that. But
I'm on there, but we were there. We weren't the Click at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were doing
I was
vocals
with
on there?
I was with another partner named Spice. She's my friend too, my best friend, up to date. Her name is Spice. We were called Sugar and Spice and Nothing Nice.
That's
that's
a great title.
Yeah. So we did a song called Biker Season. Yeah, it had the Jamaican funk beat. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
Yeah, dun, dun, Yeah.
So this is while they were doing MVP, you had your own group.
Yeah, with them though. We were a group. We were all like this whole posse.
Okay.
And then we just came together as the Click when I got pregnant, and my partner, not partner like my girlfriend, like like my best friend partner, like, you got to be careful with your words. So, because there's so many different lifestyles, and I'm not talking about the lifestyle of having a girl relationship, so, you got to make that clear.
Sure.
So me and my best friend, Renee, she was Spice. So she didn't want to move forward in it. She wanted to be more in a domestic space, which is great because she actually did very well in life. Matter of fact, she retired now. She worked for the government, in IRS for years, and she held it down. But both of us coming from being teen moms, and she wanted that space. So we ended up separating, and that's where I started kind of getting in trouble, and at that time I was kind of headed towards destruction again in a different way. And so my brothers was like, we got together and they're like, we need to connect. So I helped find the Click. So we were like together, like, you need to stay out of trouble. I'm keeping you out of trouble. You come be with me. And that's where we were like, she rocking with us.
Got you. Because, so Be Legit kind of broke it down there, like that MVP album is kind of like some Run DMC influence, like not necessarily the most authentic version of who you guys were at the time.
Right.
Whereas like that first Click EP, The Left Side, there was a Vogue on the cover and some money, and it was kind of like more honest about what y'all were experiencing in like the streets at that time, and which was kind of rare to bring that perspective of the streets of Vallejo onto a record.
Yes.
But once you guys found that identity, it started working for y'all.
Yeah, definitely. And, that's kind of the same, when you starting at the beginning, like the majority of my records that I was on, I was drunk as a skunk. My first records, like the Billy, not Billy, the It's All Good album, my first album, it was all party to me, just fun. I still got a little bit out, more so showing my talent, but that wasn't the best of me. You know what I mean? That was the, coming into figuring out who my solo me was. So
yeah. Also something really interesting is that you and 40 have like very similar styles on those first albums.
Yeah, we do.
Where did that come from?
He's a great influence for us. Like we model after our brother, our big brother. So I think it's innate, and definitely modeling behind his style, because he taught us how to lay it in the pocket, how to do the ad libs and the doubles and the talk backs and so that's where it came from. Yeah.
And he was kind of, as you guys were doing the group thing, he was already kind of bubbling on the solo with like the Mailman and like the Federal album. And
well, we all were there also on his album too, so we were bubbling with him. There's a song on there called FedEx. He said he's just a time a name ringing, major factor FedEx, high power lawyers and a young nigga having his bread. Let him know, man. Let him know, boy. Yeah.
Very
nice.
So,
we were still together. We just picked times to put our solo albums out. Everybody did it different. So like Billy Bad, Street Life was already recorded. And then we had to redo Street Life after we got signed. We co-ventured with Jive. But, there was songs that were out, and stuff we had already put out that we changed up in the 90s, where that's where people kind of get confused, because some of the stuff was re-released in the 90s because we had to get clearances, and some people didn't clear stuff, and so we had to kind of rearrange some things because we were going commercial and everybody was trying to prevent lawsuits, and stuff like that.
And your debut album is It's All Good. Was that before the Jive deal or after?
Before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was kind of set up for y'all to have the group, but then there's 40 solo album, there's Be Legit solo album, there's your solo album, and then there's D-Shot's solo album. And
yes.
You mentioned earlier that like St. Charles was kind of giving y'all the blueprint on how to push the music. So you were each taking responsibility for the business side too.
Yes. So Billy Badass was my first hood hit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Billy Badass. Remember that?
Yeah, I was doing my research on that.
He thought he had game, but he was lame. He was lame to the game. Yeah. So that was my first hood hit, but solo hood hit. But remember, before that, when we had our first albums all together, before 40 solo album with the MVP, I think I'm saying it in the right order, MVP, we were on the Most Vicious Players. That's what we called ourselves, Most Vicious Performers, Most Vicious Players. They played around with it. But we were all on that album together. So I had the Sugar and Spice song on there. So that was my first Sugar and Spice debut. We're going to do one too. We're going to do a video to it and re-release it.
Yeah.
I got it. But yeah.
I saw another interview where you were saying that Billy Badass song, like you were inspired to write that after getting shot?
Yes. Yep. I was inspired to write it after I got shot. There was a situation where, my brother put out the documentary. So, that was, if people want to learn more, they can go look at that. But yeah. Yep. Unnecessary roughness, jealousy.
Roughness.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about it with D-Shot too.
Yeah. And just became, jealousy, and just became more aware that, this is a problem, violence. So to this day, I stand for violence, violence prevention.
So that song kind of has a message about somebody who's just doing the wrong thing for
just
the
being
wrong
ignorant
reasons.
and foolish and just out there acting a fool, for no reason, and trying to be Billy Badass. But it's lame, lame to the game, because when you grow into who you are and purpose, and you realize that, wait a minute, why am I doing this, tearing up my own neighborhood or my own space, or killing my own people, or you know what I mean? There's other ways to resolve violence. It shouldn't just be one way. That to me is cowardly.
Right.
When you got to just run to a gun. Back in the day, we used to knuckle up. I love to put my, fight, and eventually you learn that, okay, there's a way that you don't even have to fight. It's like, that's unnecessary, so, but you go through your times in your neighborhoods where you're getting bullied, or, sometimes you got to prove your point and get people off you, or let them know where you stand, or somebody's trying to hurt somebody around you or whatever. And you got to protect yourself and protect them. But overall, there's a lot of things that we can prevent, that don't have to escalate to violence. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I think that's one good thing about y'all music is like you're able to take like real life lessons from the reality of the streets, but then put it onto the music where there's like something you can learn from it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm a pistol carrying, back in the day, carrying.
You reached in the purse. I was like,
Where for protection,
for sure.
For protection, not to run around being a bully.
Right. Big difference.
And, people get hurt when they got a gun on them, and it's just don't make sense to me. So, we gotta, so that was a representation of that way back, and I'm still the same way. We need love, in this life, and it just doesn't make sense.
Another big song for y'all that really helped establish your careers is Captain Save A Hoe. It's interesting because the other dudes in the group are taking one approach of basically being like the target of like jealousy and dudes doing some hater stuff to show out for the females. Where your verse is about like basically breaking the dude's pockets and what was your approach going into writing that your verse on that song?
Well, I mean, that was what I was about, in terms of, just, positioning myself to always benefit from the relationships that I was in.
Did you ever really break a dude for his GA check?
I'll break him for whatever he got, for his food stamps,
I said,
his Social Security check,
checks. That's cool.
Whatever he got, it ain't, you got to share. We got to make sure I'm okay.
So you were pushing the hard line in those days. Huh?
Still is. Absolutely.
Okay.
All day long.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Explain that mentality. I'm really curious to just hear your approach on that.
Well, I mean, you have to be in a position to make sure that you can't, that you are taken care of with any relationship that you in. So when I say that, I'm not just getting ready to just be out there wilding out and moving around and letting people just take advantage of my body or take up my time, take me off track, of what I need to get done without making sure that we're mutually clear that we both are going to benefit. You know what I'm saying? So
that was a very articulate way of explaining what you said very differently in that song, but
yes.
I could dig it. I'm not mad at it. I mean, I think that's also what's dope about including that perspective on the song is like they're letting you cook on there too.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I'm not mad at her.
Right.
It's your fault, bro. Like, don't get mad because you're doing this.
Right. Exactly. That was really unique how they and you picked that up, and that's how they presented it. My brothers are and my cousin, the clique is very clever. They are geniuses, So working with them and being able to stay in the space with them, it's just a blessing, that we all can come together. When we come together, it's like gold.
Well, literally, because
like
magic. That
Yeah.
song kind of took y'all like really nationwide, as you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
The Jive deal came in 95, I believe. It was like a $5 million label deal or something.
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
one of the biggest label deals in history. I don't remember what year it was, to be honest with you, but
I think it was 95 from what I recall in my
yeah.
research.
Perhaps it could have been. Yeah. It could have been, because sometimes stuff is repurposed information, but if you're a good researcher, then you may have got it.
If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments.
Yeah, tell us, because I want to know.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting. It'd be so much stuff going on. Yeah.
Well, how did that feel? Like, did it feel like, damn, we made it? Like, now we arrived, or got this big deal, and we're about to take it even further?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I already thought we had arrived, to be honest with you. It was great to see some advancement, but I already thought we had arrived because we had done so much before the deal. We'd already had, what I told you, Ghetto Gold albums. We had a lot of visibility. We were already moving around, touring and being in different places and spaces and buildings. So I really didn't have that kind of mentality, to be honest with you. Matter of fact, yeah. I don't know what to think. I was still having fun.
No, I get it. I can tell.
It was just all about fun for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Woo, I liked to have some fun. I was the kind of person that I'll go pick up somebody. I'll go pick up a fan or anybody. Come on, let's go ride. They get in the car with me, and we liable to be going all day long. Yeah, I call them back and be like, hey, you want to go such? No, I can't be in the car all day.
No,
all over
I
the
get
place,
it. I get
doing
it.
all kind of stuff. Just fun. That's what I like to do. Was at that time. I still like to have fun when I'm out, but it's a different kind of fun.
Right.
It's more of a safer and different type of fun.
Well, I was just thinking of something that I was kind of reminded of is that Quinn told me you used to date his father.
Oh, now why you go there? I did.
Okay, he said it on this podcast.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. The
That's
late
just-
James, may his soul rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Yep, I did. I dated him for I think maybe 4 years, 5 years.
Oh,
something like
so it
that.
was a minute.
I believe so. It was about that, maybe 3 to 5 years, and it was in the 90s. And yeah, it was a great experience. He was a wonderful friend, wonderful supporter. Spoiled me rotten.
Okay.
Spoiled my kids rotten.
Okay.
So that's what I have to say. And he went through his change, and and we still remain friends.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting part of Bay Area history because he mentioned that because of that he kind of got to be around y'all when he was young and starting to rap.
Quincy was really nice. He was very respectful to me. He wasn't like she with my mama. With my daddy.
Yeah.
They wasn't in no mess like that. They really appreciated me, respect and loved me, and it was a mutual appreciation for each other.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I also heard that you had a connection to Tupac.
I did. Yep. Tupac used to come to my house to breathe. My space was a space of comfort for him. Whenever he was out in the Bay after he finished all his partying, he came to my house. And because I was the mama house with the kids, the food, the relaxing, the heater on, the comfort. So he would come and visit, and he would lay in my bed.
Wow.
Yep, he would lay in my bed. He looks like my kid's father, actually. They favor. So, yeah.
So you got a type.
Huh?
You got a type.
Well, actually, I was already with my kid's father before him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it was coincidence.
It was, and I think my kids used to get confused because they'll look at him, and I don't know if they was tripping on seeing him on TV or if they was like, "Is that my daddy?" That kind of thing. But he would lay on my bed, and and it was. I'll leave the imagination there. But my brothers were like, "Nigga, you better not touch my sister." So. It wasn't, I'll leave the imagination because I want the cliffhanger, but he was my friend.
Sounds like you had some meaningful connection.
Yeah, it was. I was a relaxing house, come out, stop running around, and when he got tired of all the partying and running with Money B and everybody that he was out here running around with, he come over there.
Right, because he was kind of wilding out in those days.
He was all over hanging out, because everybody loved him. So. Yeah. He had all his friends that, that he knew out this way, including my brothers and, everybody. So I was just that in the hood, let me come over here and chill. I was living in North Oakland at the time.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
You guys have music together as well?
We did. We made a song together that never was released. Never was released. He passed away before we was able to release it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wish I was there for the other ones, but they left on the last minute when they was working on something, and I didn't get to go. Yeah, I hate that though.
Well, another big song for you, maybe the biggest one for you, is "Sprinkle Me."
I've had songs. Yeah, "Sprinkle Me" is definitely one of the biggest songs, and probably the biggest songs that lasted. Yeah, over 30 years. I think it's been about 30 years, and I have other songs with people like CeCe Peniston. I can go down the list of some other ones. I'm on various soundtracks from Tales.
No, definitely. I just wanted to ask about that specifically because people love it so much. And it's, I think, also what you're saying about, you said you were the first brother-sister?
Biggest brother and sister hip-hop duet ever in history. Yeah. And still remains that.
I think that's what people really love about that song is y'all going back and forth.
I think so too. Yeah.
What was it like recording that song, and what was like the concept behind that?
So I remember being home and
sorry. Let me just
getting a
pause.
call. Getting a call from my brother. Come to the studio real quick, sis. You know, come record this verse real quick. You know, and I got there. You know, when he called, we there, and it was in Richmond. I think it was at K. Lou's studio at the time. I believe. I think K. Lou was the one that recorded it.
Shout out I think so. He's been on the podcast too. Shout out to K. Lou.
Yes, and don't get me wrong if he wasn't. I know it was K. Lou, Sam Bostic, and Mike Mosley that was a part of it, but I believe it was at his studio when he was on. Was that Barrett? I think he had a studio in Barrett, I believe. Anyway, so I got there and he was like, you know, he pulled the track out and I just wrote to it literally in like 20 minutes, to be honest with you. Literally 20 minutes. And so after that, they decided to make it into a single, and they might have already had it as planned, but I didn't know it. And next thing you know is we're going to go shoot the video, and you know, and it went out, and it was just everybody just loved it.
Yeah,
they still love it.
Still, you still hear it at like Warriors games, and
yeah, the concept. You know where that came from, right?
No, that's what I wanted to know.
So you said it earlier.
Oh,
yeah.
What?
San Quinn's dad.
Really?
Oh,
really? Okay.
Not the concept of the song, but he used to say, "40, sprinkle me with some of that good old game, man." You know?
Wow.
Yeah, he'd been sprinkle me with some of that good old game, man. You know?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it came from his influence of how he used to talk, because he was a G, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a boss. He was a G.
Wow.
And so yeah, so that's where that came from.
It's a well-known fact right there.
Yeah, give him his props. And it's funny about Sprinkle Me, because I don't like, everybody sometimes try to put you in a box. Now, I love Sprinkle Me, what it does and what it has done. But it's the first song that I ever seen people like dance to slow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care where you turn it on at. I don't care how fast the music was at first. It never kills a party.
Right.
They still just like get in attention and be like, hey, you know. I'm like, wow, they be pumped up with. I don't like dancing to slow music, but they get on that flow and keep that thing going. I'm like, they really, really love that, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
you know?
That song has a lot of longevity.
Yeah,
timeless.
It definitely, yeah. Yeah, and I have a whole bunch of other bangers, you know.
Yeah,
you know, I don't want to say equally, because, you know, I think that's the top of the cream just for so many reasons. But I try to get people to hear other stuff too.
Well, yeah, there's songs of yours. There's other songs that you appeared on. It's a lot in the catalog. I'm just trying to cover some.
You try to get the history. You try to get that history. You try to make sure everybody know what it is.
Yeah.
The family song. Yeah, that was a beautiful experience.
Let's talk about that.
Or talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Okay. All right.
I'll let you keep leading the way.
So I just got reminded that I've never remembered to ask about Hurricane.
Yes.
And that's another one that you really added your punch to with that hook.
Hurricane, but you can call me Slurricane.
Yeah.
Slurricane, strong enough to start a engine, man.
So classic. Yeah. So classic. Were you drinking a lot of Hurricane during that time?
Yes, we were. Yep, we were. That was our drink, Hurricane. I was so happy that my brother made the Hurricane Slurricane, because he deserved to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun experience. Yeah. My crevice got hot, seats wet and all. That hurricane, that ain't no joke. Get to make a player fall. Creepy eyes on a sneaky bride. Pump a fool, straight Jekyll, make him think I'm hella raw.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Classic.
Nah, hit a beat. He can't be greedy, gotta stay strong. But if I get broken off the dang, I can't go wrong. This trick juice'll make a fool fall on his face. Worse than that bumpy face gin with no chase. Now, you know, those were some cold lyrics.
Yeah, it was. I was just thinking as you're saying
juice.
that, like, damn. But it's just dope that, like again, the click has you to add, like, the female perspective to, like, keep up right along with what the dudes are doing. And
right on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That makes it fun. Like, now everybody can get down to this song and sip on some Hurricane.
Yeah. And you know the other one, right? We did. We got a story about Scandalous. You remember Scandalous? So with Roger.
Right.
Yeah, Roger Troutman. So matter of fact, I'm going to go record with one of the band members. I'm working on a new album, and I'm setting up for another tour next year. But he did. We were doing Scandalous, and I'm a fan of like Shirley Murdoch. Remember Shirley Murdoch?
No.
She sung "As We Lay." This morning, as we slept the night away.
I don't remember that
It
one.
happened, but now we can't turn back the hands of time. Yet we cherish this moment.
Ooh.
We forgot to face one simple fact. We both belong to someone else. As we slept the night away, as we lay. We forgot about tomorrow as we lay. Hey, hey.
Sugar, you can't be singing to me like that. You're going to have me start blushing. Come on, Sugar. Come on. Take
You
it
gotta
easy.
find
Take
that
it easy.
song. That was a classic. And now it's time for us to say goodbye. Goodbye, baby. You're leaving me. I know you got to hurry home to meet your wife. Oh, she could sing, honey. That Shirley Murdoch wasn't no joke. She's still around. She got pipes, but she sung with Roger of that. Computer Love. Times are so scant. Oh, I'm singing the other version, but I just go, I forgot the actual singing the original lyrics that she sung, but the thing is close your eyes, have that glow. Could it be your face I see on my computer screen? She sung that, right? I wanted to sing that part because I'm a singer in a rapper's brand, by the way. You do know that, right? Okay. I mean, like I sing, but I never want to put a full album out and put attention towards that singing because I didn't want people to forget that I'm still in hip hop. Because people be turning one side. Oh, she don't rap no more. She just sing now. So I didn't want to lose my space, being that it was already a hard time keeping my foot in the game based on the politics that I had to navigate throughout the years. For those so many things we talked about earlier, we got to get back to that. So, but so I wanted to sing her part on the song, and my brothers wouldn't let me. And so Roger was like, he said, Roger, they won't let me sing. And so he was like, he brought them in the room, and then he came back and he said, now come on up here, Sugar, come in here. And then he said, go on and get on that mic and sing that song. He said, go on sing that song, heifer.
Okay.
So he let me sing it. I was like, to my brothers. I said, nanny, nanny, nanny. But it came out to be a really good piece on the song. So that's how that got there. But that song, that's a gold album.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
Yeah.
that second or
gold album.
that Click album, the Game Related album, has some bangers on there too.
Yeah, cold-hearted. It's some cold-heartedness, some cold-hearted ninjas.
Yeah.
That one, and we have a lot of really nice material throughout the years.
Yeah, I don't want to breeze through too quickly through the timeline, but I will say you had a couple releases, solo releases on Jive, and then I noticed at a certain point you were on another label for some of your later albums, and then I guess you took that hiatus.
Yeah, so it was my own label that I was
okay.
on. Yeah, so you probably seen Hip Hop Mind Productions or SMSE.
I don't remember exactly which one.
So I actually did get another deal though, but it wasn't with my solo album. It was with Ichiban Records, and it was a compilation album.
Okay.
That I had was sold to them when they were open.
So that was you just doing your own venture at that point?
Yeah, I did a venture with them doing a compilation album at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's it's a whole story behind that, but yeah. So you may have heard
we
that.
might have to run back a part 2 to get all these details, but I don't want to miss out on what you were saying about how you went back to school and your work in the community, because I've seen you like pop up on like flyers and community centers and stuff, like doing presentations.
Yes.
So you mentioned that like you at a certain point you kind of had like a conflict with like the lyrics and the messaging and the stuff that was going into the rap based on some stuff that you were dealing with.
Yeah, I just had to take a hiatus. There was a place of self-discovery and of growth, spiritual, mental, emotional. There were some things that I had faced, some trauma, some drama, some elements that were, pulling on me. And I felt like it was time for me to take a step back and take a break and, kind of reset and work on some other things to assure that there was more than just what I was getting. So, in that, the lyrical content, it wasn't just that, it was just the lifestyle that I was living.
Yeah.
It made me grow into understanding that what I was doing. And what I was doing was I didn't want to feed more into that space because I felt like it was a space of stagnate, where everyone's just saying the same thing, doing the same thing, same conversation. And I knew I had grown, and I know what some of those conversations could do to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be more of that, because I think there's a certain, I'm 38 right now. I'm not the same person I was at 18 or 28. And some of the ways I used to behave and be into is like, I'm not into that anymore.
Yes.
But I think some rappers feel like they can't give that up.
Right.
Because they want to hold on to the relevance.
Right.
Instead of setting the tone.
Right.
Like you're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm zero. I know who I am, and through that time of separation, that reset, I realized who I was and whom I belong to. At the end of the day, what direction do I want to go when I'm passed away? I want to at least try my best to make it to heaven.
Yeah, same here.
And people question that. I'm like, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So
yeah, do the right thing.
At the end of the day, and then not being a mother and having children and living a reckless conversation, to me, just, it's not a healthy thing it's not healthy for mothers to cuss in front of their kids. Shut your ass. That's not healthy to me. It's not healthy for mothers to smoke weed in front of their kids and drink. And, I think drink is not that bad as long as they're conducting themselves okay. Yeah. But, smoking weed and blowing smoke in their face and cigarettes, putting them at risk of cancer and, and just living like that is just, you grow out of it, you understand what harm that could be. And it doesn't have to be done, and it does nothing but make you grow. And we were put here on earth to evolve. So the fact of still having the same conversation in hip hop for these past 40 years, I think hip hop is 50 years old now.
Yep.
It started off with one conversation, but that conversation for them 2 decades, I would say there was various types of conversations. Those 2 first decades of hip hop, there were different types of people, different types of presentations of, whatever it was that they were expressing, consciousness, sharing their stories in the hood, pushing whatever movement, all that stuff. It was mixed up. But after, here in the last 3 decades, it's the same conversation, and it's been turned up 10 times in the past decade and a half, and I almost want to say 2 decades. So it's almost like no one's growing. And I just can't, I'm that type of person. I got to grow. I have to learn. I want to know. I want to do more than just one thing, because I understand when we have purpose, we have multiple talents. So the only way you're going to really explore them is by stepping away and not being concerned about what people think about you, especially when you hard. Yep. It's like, I know I'm raw. I'm hood all day long, but there's various ways to be hood, that to keep you alive. And that's not supposed to be in the front of our chest all the time. That's not healthy. Always being rough and tough and mean and mad and, bragging on yourself and putting somebody else down. And see, I took my nails off on purpose. Normally they got them this is how different I am. I'm like, I'm giving them a break. I could have put some press-ons if I wanted to come here, but I'm like, you got to know who you are.
Right.
And so, in that self-discovery stage, you can't tell me I have to be like somebody else. And it was a trip because I seen people in those stages saying, oh, you got to be like this person. You got to be like Cardi B. You got to be like that person. And I just refused to feel like I had to be like them. I'm like, no, they need to be like me.
Right.
They trying to get golds and platinums like me. I already got golds and platinums, and I've already made some impact on the movement. I've already, I don't have to be like the kids. That's kind of a put down to me that all of a sudden now me as a trailblazer, long as I've been in the game, now I got to be like them. It don't work that way.
I agree.
So I say that during that season, it was very tough for me because I stood 10 toes down on my skills and my authenticity. I wasn't fit to be like them. I played with a little bit just to let, just to keep a relevant presentation, but not because of trying to be like them, but just showcasing other skills besides what I did back in the day, because it wasn't always my best work, you know what I mean? But to be like them, and I remember, this is the biggest story, in that stage they had said, that I wouldn't be considered relevant through, it was several people around me had this mindset, and they probably forgot, but I believe people get possessed sometimes, literally, and they get possessed to discourage you,
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they don't remember. They're like, I didn't say that. Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah,
I remember
you did.
because it hit me in my heart,
Yeah.
I can't forget that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it was people around me saying this, like, oh, you got to be like this person. You got to be like that. You got to keep it hood, da-da-da-da-da. And at the end of the day, I started listening to the radio sometime because I had cut off from the radio because I got sick of listening to the mess that was on there that just didn't grow me. I don't want to be dumbed down. That's the whole point. I'm not judging nobody, but I can't listen to foolishness all day long and just one level of consciousness. You know what I mean? I have to, to grow and feel like I'm balanced. And so with that, all of a sudden the City Girls came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, the City Girls sound like Salt and Pepper. Sounds just like Salt and Pepper, JJ Fad. And I just was like, wait a minute. I was scratching my head like, people, they keep pushing me to the being, they don't want to support me, or I'm not good enough, or they don't want to hear what I have that I've laid down because they so sold off of the new presentation of hip hop, the mumbo jumbo rap, and, and the girls dressed up, overdressed and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, we don't have to do all that. But the bottom line is it was unfair. And that's what I get back to, how they treated the older women in hip hop. She sounded just like Salt and Pepper and JJ Fad. And the majority of the things that they're doing today, we already did that. But they get props from it. And so, I say that to say that's why I'm happy you got this History of the Bay, because we have to hold our own history and tell our stories, because we could lose, I won't say lose our space, but get buried, in the spaces of these people if we're not in a position to do that, which was why I started my museum, her museum, to keep my own history and to support other women who deserve for their stories to be heard and to matter, that are positive role models. That's the biggest thing, is the ones that actually are positive role models to stay inclusive.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're here to share all this. I think this is really good for people to get this insight. And something I wanted to touch on, not more than you might be comfortable with or is necessary, but I did read that you are a survivor of domestic violence.
Yes.
And you've used your platform to counsel and speak to other women that have been in that situation too. Yes,
that have been trauma and system impacted. So rather, the spaces that I've been in, domestic violence was definitely one at one point in my life as a young adult and as well as a teenager. And so understanding that there's a need for, women to love themselves and to have that confidence and that support, somebody to understand where they are, as well as helping the families to understand how to deal with them. I took up that space because it was very difficult in my space, when you have somebody that love you, they don't want to see nobody hitting you and hurting you. They like, we're going to get this, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of pieces to that. So I do a lot of the domestic, I call it domestic violence prowess reset trainings.
Prowess reset training.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to visualize what that looks like.
So it's those who are in the community of domestic violence, whether they're staff, aspiring staff, leaders, or domestic violence victims, and just, go through the processes, rather healing, giving them healing and balance, or rather introducing them to some spaces and resources that help them better understand how to be competent and be well in that space.
See, I was trying to articulate that in my mind because one thing we know about domestic violence, I think the hardest thing is for people to realize that there's a problem and you gotta get out of the situation, right? It's
sometimes they know it's a problem, but they can't get out of the situation.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like kind of realigning your brain to be like,
well, not mentally, but physically. They might not have no money.
Yeah.
So that's why I started doing, the work that I do with not just domestic violence, but women in general for prevention purposes as well as intervention purposes and awareness. So the fact of if you don't have no money. So I'm a wellness coach. So I help people turn their pain into peace, passion, and purpose. And I'm a wellness and transformation coach. And I help them discover multiple streams of income by using their natural gifts and talents, right? And that's by whether helping them write a book that can turn into a business for them, whether it's helping them start a business, whether it's helping them create another supplemental income for themselves, whether it's, making them realize their talents and go back to find the trade that works for them, whether it's helping them understand why they went through what they went through so that they can use it as a purpose-driven opportunity and it can help heal them too. And then they come to a balance with, oh, wow, that's why I went through that. Now I want to do this or that kind of thing. So the bottom line is, when I opened up Sprinkle Me Learning Academy, I opened it up because I didn't just only want to work on domestic violence victims, but I wanted to, in that community, but trauma and system impacted communities because they stay when they don't have money. They stay when they don't have support. They stay when they don't love themselves or when they love themselves, but they're embarrassed. And we don't tell because sometimes we're not ready to leave the relationship. So a lot of times they'll be like, dang, them big old brothers you got. And so just to be clear, I experienced a domestic violence relationship first hitting him. Yeah. Hitting him. So, and then he started hitting me back. And then we start hitting each other. And at that point, we damn near drawing guns on each other.
Yeah.
And it's time to go, know. And then at that point, other people coming in and they drawing guns on each other. So it's like, okay, this is it. It's time to separate.
It's gone too far.
Yeah, it's gone too far, So, but then I did have a relationship where I was being mentally and emotionally abused and physically, from time to time, physically abused, it was working its way to a strong abuse, And so the thing that you have to be prepared for a domestic violence victim is to leave.
Right.
So you already know when you tell your brother or your cousin or your daddy or somebody or your kid, it's time to go because they're going to hate that person at that point. It's over. They're going to get into it and it's going to be time to go. So you got to be ready to end the relationship. And if your heart and your emotions is still there, then you're going to stay. And then in some cases, it's fear they stay because they don't know how they're going to take care of themselves. They don't have no money, And then some of them, they can go somewhere to somebody that they know, but they're scared they're going to get kicked around and talked about and picked on and put down because that person is not healthy for them to be around. So they'll rather stay there and be abused than to come there and be abused. You get what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different reasons and ways.
So we're talking mental, emotional, spiritual, financial resources to put a stop to these situations, remove yourself, move on.
Yeah, because there's different types of abuses there's financial abuse. I've been a part of that where a man is mad because you're making money. He want to block your money or he want to get in the middle of it or he want to hold out, and put you in binds, tear up your stuff, break your stuff, do crazy stuff to make you have to spend more money or get you distracted from going to work, and getting money to take care of yourself, that kind of thing. Then you have the emotional abuse, being called. I was with one guy and many of us are, and I don't recommend anybody to put up with this. They call you ugly, you're too skinny, you're too black, you're too fat, you're too this, you're too that. Oh, you ain't gonna never make it. Oh, you ain't nobody. Those type of environments, that's emotional abuse and control, because a lot of times they just want you to feel like you're nothing so you can stay there and put up with their mess because they got issues.
Yep.
So I try to, when I'm doing domestic violence intervention, I try to deal with the person that's doing the violence as well because they need to get themselves together.
Wow.
Also.
Yeah.
So although I'm on the side of the ones that's not the aggressor, but I also know that there has to be a unified effort.
You got to approach this thing from all angles.
The whole thing, And so, and a lot of times they know and they want help, And then sometimes,
right.
you
or
have
it's
to.
something that they internalize from what they experienced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they need a way to learn how to redirect their energy like that, So,
Wow.
and
I
it's,
imagine it's really powerful coming from someone who has like such stature in hip hop, but also someone who like survived these things and can
yes.
speak on it. And then I'm also
Yeah, systems,
right,
system impacted people is who I work with. Trauma
right.
and systems. So that's reentry community, women, all the places and spaces that I've been, women who've been in jail, who got out of jail trying to figure it out, men too, men and women. I've worked with many a man. You probably hear my name lingering, help them get jobs, help them into professional development, get them balanced and stable, encourage them, try to find them resources, that whole thing. And then, women on welfare with limited income, people in veteran spaces, Social Security, disability, all those different spaces. So those trauma and system impacted communities of people I have a heart for. We all, sometimes just a little bit of help, could get somebody through. So I'm able to work with these people through my team. I have a team with the Work It Well Project. So my staff, my team in that organization, they're awesome, and we all come together, and most of them came in my team coming through my coaching. So I was able to learn and know who these women were, and these were powerful women that just wanted to help, and that had their own space, and it was great because we come together to help people. So the Work It Well Project was built off of my coaching support with these women and men as well that wanted to help and also align themselves better. Not weak people. These were bosses, people that just I knew a little bit more in other places because of what I spend my time being exposed to, helping them start a business. I'm really gifted with understanding how to put the operations together and figure out how to make money from it and set up their brand and, all that kind of stuff. And that's what this book does. This kind of tells this story, Boss Up. This is one of my books, and it helps people, empower them with the tools to replace barriers and to explore entrepreneurship as well as make extra money,
I love it.
Yeah, and then we focus on the autism community. This is the autism fragrance. This is Mariah Dreams. And so this particular fragrance is from our Be Kind Generation brand. Sure. Yep. And that brand is in honor and awareness of little girls with autism. And so we sell that fragrance in the Sprinkle Me boutique. So I'm what you call a social entrepreneur.
I love it.
So, I believe in making money while helping people, just to avoid selfishness. I bought this for you.
Really?
Yeah. This is from, people think that I love women, but I love my brothers too.
Okay.
You know why? My brothers is good to me.
Right on.
These men, y'all good to me.
Right on.
Very respectful to me.
That's
They come on my page and give me a little love and, and keep pushing, and they're really excited, about how I move. So I'm grateful for them. So I made a fragrance. It's the Amari.
Wow.
It's called the Amari Man Cave. So I created a man cave in the Sprinkle Me boutique just for y'all.
That blue drip.
That one is blue drip. That's what you do. Yee.
Finna sprinkle me.
You like that?
Quick.
You have been sprinkled. You like that?
Oh, I do like that.
Yeah, that's the one right there.
All right. That's very masculine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You got me feeling like I got my grown man on
There
right
you go.
now.
Yeah, blue drip. You got your drip.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
So we're talking music. We're talking community wellness. We're talking products. We're talking books.
And we're talking the Sprinkle Me Boutique was created from the domestic violence relationship because I made that division during a domestic violence relationship when I was in hiatus of music, and I was in a domestic violence relationship again as an adult, and I was trying to figure it out, and I didn't want to go back to music. I wanted to do something else and take a break for wellness, and as we talked about earlier, all the things that I wanted to do, and went back and worked in the community organizations, helped support people, did other type of music. I still wrote music. I was songwriting, blues, jazz, R&B, soul, gospel, alongside of a little hip hop, but more so the healthier hip hop, trying to create the balance in my own space.
This is incredible. We were talking earlier offline that like a lot of times you just get labeled as like E-40 sister has an E-40, but I'm seeing like, he's known for being a multi-entrepreneur in all these different areas, but I see you are in the same vein and all these different things going on. And I'm really glad that you got to come through today and share all this with us.
Thank you.
Because I certainly learned a lot. I certainly enjoyed the conversation. I certainly feel empowered and inspired. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go throw some of this on and sip some Hurricane right now.
There you go. There you go. Sprinkle Me Boutique. Now, we just did my video, Beat It Up. So Beat It Up is my latest video. I've been sprinkling a little bit of peace here and there. So, that's my 24th album. But my latest hip hop album on the I Am Heiress album. So I pulled out Beat It Up. You know, I have 25 albums. So what I'm doing is just pulling singles out from different ones and concentrating on just giving a little more, push. I wanted to just build a catalog and have it and then, work it individually. So I'm celebrating the legacy of the 25 albums in 40 years.
Still going.
In 2026. Yeah.
So we'll put the links in the description so people can check all of this out.
And Shaniko was the latest singing album.
Okay.
So I actually did a dance house soul album called Shaniko. And that's my wellness. That was, I took another wellness break by doing that album. Because, I come in and step back and come in. I'm like, oh my God, I'm stepping back in. I'm still seeing booties. Now I'm seeing people worshiping fake bodies. Like, nothing wrong if they want to BBL it up, but I'm like, you got to understand that this is still, where is the reality at? So I'm like, let me step back because I'm fussing, and I'm just being negative. So I just need to get a break. So I stepped back and wrote a dance house song.
There you go. I was going to say, sometimes the best thing to do is just take some action when you're feeling frustrated.
Just step on back, and I wrote the wellness album, and I'm like, not just me, it's probably everybody that feel that way.
Right.
Many people probably need a break. So I made it for people to get a break. So it's a go-to. It's a fitness, you dance and feel good, happy. Soul Sister is a single, the video called Soul Sister. It's empowering the women. I made a Soul Brother version of it too. And it's a lot of good content on there I think people can enjoy.
Awesome. I look forward to checking it out. I'm sure they will too. I think we should run this back down the line, part 2. There's so much more we could have gone into. But
that's why I haven't done a full documentary yet.
Because
it's just too much. It's too much information.
You could do a multi-part documentary series. But for now, this is a good chapter in the history of the Bay. I really appreciate you coming. I really appreciate you blessing me with all this. And it was a really enjoyable conversation.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate that. Hip hop is definitely it's a very influential, area, as you know, and I'm happy that you were able to put some history there. And I feel that I will always be a part of history, not just musically. But recently I created a hip hop beauty line. It's called Hip Hop Diamond Beauty. So that's going to be released next year. But it's available now in the Sprinkle Me Boutique. Look at me. Okay. You're like, okay. So thank you for continuing to create hip hop history and making us visible to the world and being able to tell our own story. That's everything.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Support this woman, ladies and gentlemen. Suga-T, the legend, history of the Bay. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, follow Suga-T, support the product, and see you next time. Peace and love.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.